this is the second time we're having this. And I know the last edition was hot. It got very intense at the latter parts. And so I'm expecting today to literally feel almost the same, if not hotter, because there are new gists that we need to dive into. So once again, I welcome everyone to the second edition of the Global Economic Outlook being hosted by Ecofina. And today we have a fantastic panelist to work with, remembering clearly that these are just discussions. Most of the opinions, thoughts that will be shared by the awesome gentlemen we have on this gist today, they will be sharing their own perspective on each of the topics. Everyone still has the liberty and the freedom to share their own thoughts in the comment section. You still, as usual, be encouraged to go and do further research to form your own opinion on the topics we'll be discussing today. So before we jump into that, I'm going to allow our panelists to introduce themselves. I have Babatunde Okeniyi, is one of the, the founding fathers of the fintech world, like we know it in the last few decades. He's contributed immensely to some of the growth we've seen in improvement in payment gateway and integrations. So I have Babatunde Okeniyi on this conversation today. I have Philip Oguntoye. You all know him. You've seen a lot of Philip's articles, newsletters that he shares on a weekly basis, and he's the main editor and the main contributor for the Ecofina financial newsletter you receive. And then again, we have Debo Alunge with us today. Okay, so just to run through quickly, I'm going to give each person 1-2 minutes, just say something about yourself to the audience so that we'll get to know you, and then we'll know how to attack you with our questions today. Okay, so starting with you, Babati. Babati, looking fresh and ready. So tell the audience a bit about you today.
Okay, good morning. My name is Babatunde Okeniyi. I prefer to be called Babati. Yes, I've been earlier background, engineering background. I'm an engineer by profession, even though I don't practice that much these days, so I can't hold a screwdriver very well. So don't ask me any question. So engineer by background, an alumni of Lagos Business School as well as Harvard. I've worked in the banking sector for a very long time, EcoBank, UBA, Citibank, before moving to the payment industry about 12 years ago. I've been in the payment industry since then. My last position in the banking sector was CIO for 21 African countries. So moving to payment industry 12 years ago, worked with Unified Payment, and now run a fintech, Pay Attitude, as the MD CEO. I'm married with 3 kids. All of them are, you call them the Z age. So yeah, Z. I'm battling with those 3, and I get bombarded left, right, and center as early as this morning. So I'm ready. I'm ready for the. What am I hoping to take out from here? I'm hoping that we could share ideas together with your audience. We could understand what is going on. We could begin to take positions on the various things that are happening around us, and then we'll take it out from there. That's my expectation today, and we can impact knowledge onto one another. So I'm here to learn too. It's never late to learn, so I'm here to learn too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Babati. It's so good to have you in the conversation today. Debo, with a smile.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, good to be here again. My name is Debo Alunge. I describe myself as a finance professional. I work in the energy sector. I started off with in oil and gas, and now I work in power. So electrical generation, work with a lot of the utility companies around here. I'm excited about personal finance, how some of us can improve our livelihood through proper management of our finances, budgeting, and things like that. But since Babati also talked about family, I'm married with 2 kids. Of course, mine are younger. So, and I'm excited to be here. Same expectation for us to share our knowledge and learn from one another. We have experience from our first live broadcast that we had about 2 or 3 months ago. So hopefully we will build on that and we continue to improve, share more experience from each person here.
Good to have you again, Debo. It's good. Philip. Your mic is muted, Philip. Your mic is muted. Okay, good.
Okay. I said I'm going to be very brief, just a brief career, and mine is not as detailed as Babati or Debo, But I worked for Citibank for close to 8 years, and now I'm more into research and investment planning and all of that. So I'm also married with a kid. So let me just say that. So that's it about me.
Okay. So good. At least one thing is certain. You guys will be giving financial advice from a futuristic perspective for those who are unmarried. And then you also be giving some of your opinions. So it's good to hear that some of your thoughts, especially as it relates to personal finance, investments, surviving in recession, will be coming from a group of people with heavy financial burden, because family comes with that. As much as family is a blessing, it also comes with huge financial responsibility. So hearing Debo talk about budgeting and all of that, that definitely sounds interesting to me. Okay, so let's jump right into this, because we're going to keep to time today. And the hot one on the table that I want us to start with will be the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. I know that's an interesting one for Babati, and I'm expecting that more people across the continent should be showing curiosity to understand what this free trade area is all about, because literally our future as a continent depends on us getting this right. And so, Babati, what's the big deal with African Continental Free Trade Area? Why should anyone even really care, to start with?
Thank you very much. As I said, I'm very excited to be here today. Very happy to be here today. I would always be big English, because that's what my kids will always say. They'll say, "Daddy, break it down, calm down, break it down." So I like to break it down. I like to break it down. So they say African Continental Free Trade Area. So what is an area? It's a confinement of place. So when we say area, we're looking at Africa, the entire of Africa. So just copy your mind and say Africa is the area. So we are talking of the entire country, Africa. So that's why they say the African continent. So when they say free trade, imagine when you go to a market in Nigeria, any market, and you move from one shop to the other without anybody hindering you. You can go and bargain here. And then if you don't like the price, you move to another shop and you bargain. It's exactly what we are talking about here. So it will not be confined to only the market space. It will not be confined to only the states in Nigeria. It will be confined to the Africa. So you can move from the market freely, unhindered, from Nigeria to Ghana, and go and price your market in Ghana. Buy your tomato in Ghana and bring it back to Nigeria. Nobody stops you. Same thing. Carry your potato from Nigeria or from Jos Plateau State, and you move it into Zambia, and you go and sell it in Zambia, collect your money, and come back to Nigeria. That is what this African Continental Free Trade Area is all about. Very simple. Ability to move goods and services, human beings, from one location to the other, sell it anywhere in those locations and come back home. No customs, no tariff, no harassment, no police checking anything, just moving from one stage to the other. In a very layman term point of view, all this grammar that all these 55 African countries are blowing, all these comma was is, and they bring the legal people, legal framework to put, that's what it is all about, to move your goods and services from one place to the other. So this all started sometimes in 2012 was when the agreement was signed, actually. And I think 44 countries out of the 55 have already signed. And as I said, it's just a continental market. You have a bigger market. You have a bigger movement of goods and services. You can look to a bigger market. And the truth of the matter is it was meant to create a single market for goods and services. facilitating movement by persons in order to deepen the economic integration of Africa. That's why it was set up. It was set up basically to liberalize the markets for goods and services, to contribute to the movement of capital between one state to the other, to lay the foundation for the establishment of Continental Customs Union at a larger scale. That's what this was meant to do, actually. It was really meant to promote and attain sustainability, inclusive, social economic improvement and development, gender equality, structural transformation of the states that are involved. When I mean the states that are involved, I'm talking about the African continent itself. Because the truth of the matter is, let me give you an example. So if you want to move goods and services actually from, let me take Kenya to Nigeria, for example. So if you're not going by, if you're not flying that goods, if you want to go shipping, that ship will first land in Europe first. Though. That's the honest truth. It will first land in Europe first. So there were specific objectives that the founding fathers wanted to achieve. As I said again, I'll recap them again. We wanted to eliminate they wanted to eliminate the tariffs and the non-tariff barriers to trade and goods and services in the union. They wanted to liberalize trade. They wanted to have cooperation in investment, intellectual property rights, and competition policies. They wanted us to cooperate on all trade areas. Customs issue, they want to have a uniform. Then they equally wanted to establish a settlement mechanism for the various goods and services that have been sold. Then they wanted to have a framework under which dispute management can be handled. However, there are challenges. So I will not say there are no challenges. So it's meant to kick off, or it has kicked off 1st of January 2021. It has kicked off. Please don't expect immediate transformation. It will take a while. It will take a while to dismantle the customs at the borders. It will take a while to dismantle all the police. But the important thing is that we have started. That is the most important thing. So there are challenges today, as I said. So poor road, let me start from Nigeria first on the poor roads and railway system. So if you farm in the far north, let me take Jos, for example, where they farm Irish potatoes. If you farm from Jos, before you get that goods to Lagos, I'm sure they will have all spoiled. So you can't begin to make use of the bigger market if you can't move those goods and services equally across the African zone. I gave an example earlier on. If you want to move this Irish potato to Kenya, for example, except you fly them, I don't see how you get them to Kenya in 2 days. If you want to go by shipping, yes, you can freeze it, you can have the right condition for shipping it. But there are no shipping lines that are roving the spheres of Africa. Most goods and services from Kenya will first go to Europe or Mediterranean or go to South Africa first, if it goes to South Africa, before it starts coming up down the stream. So transportation, railway links. Railway should have been the ideal thing, actually, very well. So for us to have this infrastructure in place across the African continent, it's a major challenge. We haven't even had it in Nigeria. We want to start talking about having it across Africa. So that's a major challenge from where I stand. The second major challenge, again, that I see from where I sit down is the political unrest. So I'm not sure you want to move your goods and services. I'm not sure how many people will follow me to Borno State now to say they want to go and sell their goods and services because of the political unrest. Not just only that, in the Chad region, in the Sahel region, and I take Chad, Burkina Faso, Mali, Sudan, in those axes. I'm not sure anybody wants to go into those areas or move goods and services into those areas. I'm not sure anybody wants to go to those markets, no matter how much the money is. You can sell your goods and services, and then you have problems equally moving your money back to where you are coming from. So there are a lot of political unrest in Africa that is hindering the smooth takeoff of these big markets that we're all talking about. Again, payment infrastructure is a problem. The Francophone have done a lot in this. Because if you go to the Francophone country, Burkina Faso, Mali, Senegal, Chad, Central African Republic, they have the CFA France that is easily acceptable among them. So they've done a fantastic work on that. Unfortunately, the Anglophone people, the Nigerians of this world, the Ghanas of this world, the Togo of it, well, Togo is split into two, the Gambias of this world, everybody is still maintaining their various currency in their various way. So there is no uniformity of payment. That again becomes something that is very critical that we need to bring together on the payment side. We need to be able to bring that together on that aspect of it. So I've spoken about infrastructure, I've spoken about political unrest, I've spoken about the poor roads, I've spoken about payment. One key thing again that I would speak about is the fact that the bureaucracy will not disappear overnight. Can you imagine going to semi-border and tell the custom that, okay, you cannot check my goods and services. The rule says you can't check my goods and services. You will speak big grammar at that place before you leave on that day. So the bureaucracy on the border sides will take a while to dismantle until the penalties begin to set in that are enshrined in the agreement. Before those things begin to break down, it will be difficult for you to go to the border and tell police not to search your boots. Or it will be difficult for you to tell, even when you bring personal effects into Nigeria today, customs will go and tell you, go and pay duty for personal effect. It is enshrined in the constitution today that you don't pay duties on any personal effect. So that's another problem on that again too. Another major problem that I see is the education. Because if we are not well educated on these items, then we will be suffering. Let me put it that way. So if you don't know that because of the African Continental Free Trade Zone, you are not supposed to pay duties on some of these issues, you will get frustrated and you will be discouraged in moving this along the line. So very, very, very important that we are doing a lot of the education. And that's why for me, this platform again too is one of the critical things that I consider as one of the things that you are doing and doing very well in terms of the education. Unfortunately, not much people pay attention to some of these things that are being done here on this. Then of course, there will be an uneven distribution of wealth. Uneven distribution. So what do I mean? So you have people like Nigeria, for example, if they farm very well, and if they maximize the market size, we begin to see a lot of development, a lot of improvement. And the others will be wondering, but we just started this thing together with Nigeria now. Why is Nigeria moving ahead? It is because we are maximizing what we have. So you begin to see capital inflow more into Nigeria than other countries. So it is those that maximize this agreement that are going to move faster, in my own opinion. South Africa is leading in this aspect, in my own opinion, in maximizing what the free trade zone is all about. And they are quickly gaining ground. Ghana is another person that is moving pretty quickly on this side. It took a while for Nigeria to sign. I think we just signed barely last year or so before we signed this trade, after a lot of pressure. And we should have been the first person that should have signed that agreement, in my own personal opinion. So that's what I can say on African Free Trade Zone. I will leave the remaining time for question and answer so that I don't bore everybody. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that was well articulated.
I want to jump on this one.
That was well articulated, Babati. I mean, comprehensive. Just to add a little bit in terms of perspective as well, let's look at it from as of last year. Intra-Africa trade was only 17% of the total trade in Africa, compared to other regions like Asia, where they had like 60% of their trade being intra-Asia, and Europe was about 70%. What that tells you is that Africa, we are giving our wealth to other people. So Nigeria would rather export to Europe or import from Europe or Asia rather than trade with Africa. So we are giving our wealth out. And that is, with all Babati has said, is to actually bring that wealth back into Africa. Let's trade with ourselves. And some of the challenges that Babati highlighted as well, very correct. And I think there's a project in place as well to address the infrastructure I'm aware of the Trans-African corridor, where they are creating highways to cut across Africa north to south and east to west. That will go a long way in alleviating part of the infrastructure problem. However, like he said, I believe railway should have been the best alternative, because then you're able to ship more items at the same time rather than just one truck carrying a container. You can load like maybe 80 containers on a train, and you are moving a lot of goods at the same time. And since it's a corridor, you can drop off at different countries and you continue with your journey. So yes, they are doing some things, maybe not in the right direction, but maybe one step at a time. Let's look at it that way. I think another challenge that would come up, like he said, yes, it's going to bring about full advantage in terms of you taking your comparative advantage. What I mean, in the industry that you are the strongest in, you will profit from it. So there will be gainers and there will be losers in terms of industry. Then it then becomes a question of which one are we ready to give up? I will give an example of what happened with NAFTA, where at some point, manufacturing in the US shifted almost completely to Mexico. And then again to China, because they have comparative advantage in those areas. Their labor is cheap to manufacture, and we would expect to have something like that when we fully implement this Africa Free Trade Agreement. So I know it will not be favorable to some, say, for example, people that work in agriculture, and if Nigeria starts losing ground in agriculture, you'll see people will complain like the US did, and they are now trying to bring back manufacturing. So you will have something like that. But on the overall, I believe is a very good thing, especially because you look at it as a pie. The bigger the pie for Africa, the more cut each country will get from it. So that's just a little I could add to that. And thank you.
Okay, thanks, Debo. Just to take it up from there, I think you mentioned something very critical. Sometimes you feel like it's the big countries that will probably be at an advantage, but sometimes it might be the smaller countries who gain the most from this, like the North African Free Trade Agreement you referred to. I know President Trump tried to stop that in favor of the US-Canada-Mexico agreement so that they could renegotiate terms and all that. And I know also, like you mentioned, Biden is trying to bring back manufacturing to the United States, which is, it's expected, because if whatever sector is suffering, will definitely complain. And when you look at Europe as well, the UK is an example, because the European Union is also an example of what Africa is trying to do, maybe in a different format, but the European Union also, it was all about one market, everyone moving freely within the same, within the scope and space and all that. But the UK, they had the referendum and decided to pull out. It's been a painful one. Probably the gains are, maybe to take us some time to really know whether it's the best decision for them to actually exit at this time. But one thing is clear, that country will start to complain as they try to start to lose some capacity. So how do we, how every country leverages or how they take advantage of this will be critical. Keeping everybody happy, but yet taking advantage of the expanded market.
Okay, thank you so much for Philip for that contribution, and that raises a point for me, which Babati rightly said. It's one step at a time. This is probably going to take us years to begin to reap significant benefits from, and the AfCFTA also depends strongly on the growth in our MSME sectors across the continent. We're not depending on the large corporations to drive this per se. For each country to maximize it, then you're talking about your SMEs being strong. And so I thought you could just, Babati, say something. How should an SME begin to think about the African Free Trade Agreement? How can the average guy who's either in a small size manufacturing firm doing food processing or what have you, how can they begin to design their business plans to get ready for the opportunities that can come from this? Because it's better you're prepared for it. So in the event that it opens up or changes happen, then you can get on board quickly. You don't need to be reactive. Can we get the SME sector to sort of begin to prepare for the opportunities this will pose? So what are your thoughts on what SMEs in Nigeria, West Africa, across the continent can begin to look at?
Thank you very much. So I met a gentleman who imports coffee from Kigali, Rwanda to Nigeria. That's an SME, and he's already in the space. And so I was shocked to see the volume of transaction he's doing. So yes, he's still battling with some of the challenges, especially on the customs people. They tell him, no way, coffee couldn't have come from Kigali. Coffee will come from Europe. So they are speculating that he's shipping something differently from what exactly it is. So what I would tell the SMEs is this is a bigger market. So let's narrow it down first and foremost to within Nigeria. So the SME, for example, is, and let me take it is manufacturing toothpaste. So how does it begin to get his toothpaste across from the plateau that is manufacturing it to Nasarawa, to Kogi? How does it begin to drop those things along the chain of the states if he's coming to Lagos? So for example, his load is trucks, how is he dropping it along the line? You need to begin to experience those things locally before you begin to understand that you need to blow wide. So I don't expect somebody that has not conquered Nigeria, and we do have 200 million population in Nigeria, to begin want to conquer, because he can maximize his profits, conquering Nigeria alone. And then the experience he will build from that, he can begin to take it to, please don't go far away. As I said, logistic cost is a problem. Then you can begin to take it to Togo. Then you can begin to take it to Ghana before you begin to think of going to Kenya. Because again, you will meet competition in those places. That is one. Secondly, so I'm talking about understanding the logistics of the products or the manufacturing that you are doing, the distribution and the logistics. Then secondly, again, you need to be able to understand the longevity, how will I put it? Your products, you need to understand that it can only stay for 1 day or 2 days before it gets spoiled, so that you don't get to Lagos and everything is spoiled even before you cross over to Benin or Togo or Ghana. So you need to understand the life cycle of your products very well. Thirdly, again, too, you need to understand the countries that you are going to. So for example, if you are into pork meats, and you are developing pork meat, going into Sudan is a suicidal mission. Going into Muslim-denominated countries significantly will be a major challenge, because by their culture, those are not things that they take. So it's important, again, you understand the African country. So for example, an SME says he wants to start maximizing the African free trade zone. And I'm asking him, where is Kenya? You say he's close to Egypt. It's close to, you need to understand the structure of Africa too. You need to understand the movement of goods and services within Africa. Because as I said, if you want to ship anything to Egypt, or you want to ship everything to Kenya, I always like taking Kenya and Uganda. You have to go to Europe first. So what would be the cost of transportation to those places and coming again to those places? It's a gradual process. So you need to understand the various aspects of it along the line. So the SMEs has to be thinking about, one, how do I conquer my immediate market? In the next 2 or 3 years, how do I move to sub-Saharan West Africa, then maybe to sub-Saharan Africa, then maybe to North Africa, maybe to Southern Africa? It has to be in phases. It's not something that you will bring all together. Then you have to understand clearly very well that there is the market for it. You have to study and understand that there is a market for it. So you don't do the way we do, we say, we'll go and rough it when we get there. No, you can't go and rough it when you get there. They will ruffle you when you get there. So you can't go there and be roughing it up. So all our Nigerian mentality that don't do things in sequence and in planning, we'll have to bring it to bear because it's not all those people that do things in like manner. So I was speaking to my friend, who became my friend. I mean, we had something similar to this. And he was saying that from where he manufactures the coffee, so he manufactures the coffee in Rwanda, means he has a farm in Rwanda, in Nigeria. So it must not necessarily be from Nigeria to another country. It can be from another country to Nigeria. So he said it takes him 2 days for him to get the goods from northern Rwanda to leave the Kigali. It takes him 2 days. But he said that product can take him 3 months to clear from the Nigerian side. You need to be able to understand those peculiarities as you go across the countries. Always start small, something you can always write off, just in case anything goes wrong. Imagine that goods will perish under 3 months, then we'll have lost all his capital. I think Debo will talk to us more about those capitals. So if you lost the capitals, I mean, I can only equate it that it will be blood pressure and it will be debt straight away. If everything you have is what you bring into it. So those are the kind of things I will begin to know, to understand your product, understand the market, understand who needs it, who does not need it, and begin to move in leaps and bounds before you get out there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that. And I'm hoping somehow we just, like you rightly said, start small and then scale.